Is it appropriate time on June the 10th, Andrew, County Council meeting? We will all rise for, the invocation by Mr. Jackson, Pastor Jackson.
Let's bow our heads. Father God, in the name of Jesus, Lord, as once again we come today, Lord, to say thank you.
Thank you, Lord.
Father, we thank you for life, health, and strength. Thank you, Father, for allowing us to assemble together, Lord God. Father God, that we may come together, Lord God, for the betterment of this county. And Father, I pray that you bless each and every dear heart. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. We do have a quorum. Before we do a approval of agenda items, we have we need to, a meeting, on 7E. I need a motion. The ordinance has been written, has been through reading and is not needed. So in old business, 7E, can I get a motion to, remove that, omit this?
So moved.
Take a second. All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Okay, so now we need to get a, approval of the, agenda, the amendment.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? If you hear none, show of hands, please. Unanimous. Approval of minutes, April 30th, 2025, the call meeting. Any, corrections?
I move we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Motion been made and second. All in favor? Okay. Regular meeting, April 13th, 2025. Any omission, addition? Might I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Unanimous. Presentation is with the honor that we have, Representative, Luck here today, to talk about delegation. Luck.
Thank you. Where would you like me to stand? I'll speak directly into the microphone. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and ladies and gentlemen, and the County Council. Thank you for having me here. I understand you're in the middle of the budget, so having gone through that a few months ago, I do not envy your position. I'll try to be brief, but I want to give you a very short update on where I am now. I think the last time I spoke to you, I had not even gotten my office yet. So now I don't have that office anymore because they're renovating that building. So since you've seen me last, I've gotten an office and I've lost an office, but I'm still in office, so to speak. We, a couple weeks ago, ended our first legislative year. And so we voted on the budget. Finished that. That took quite a process, but we finished that. We will not be going back. There were a couple of vetoes on the budget, nothing large or significant enough to cause the speaker to call us back. So we'll deal with any vetoes in January when we return. So I will be here the rest of the year. I'll be back to my day job trying to make sure that I can make a living. So what did we do this year? I'm going to be, hopefully this week, if not this week, next week, publishing in the newspaper sort of a legislative year in review. There's been a lot of legislation. Some of it I liked, some of it I didn't. All of it you need to know about. I think the most important thing I can talk about here today that really affects everyone in here is what's the status of the funding for the dam at Lake Paul Wallace. And some of you know, some of you don't know, we did manage to, and I say we, that is the delegation. This is not a Jason Luck effort. This was a team effort on the part of not just the delegation, but other members of the legislature, and even folks here in town, and folks who aren't even in politics. But we as a team, managed to secure the $25 million for the repair of the dam at Lake Paul Wallace, and I'm very happy that that occurred. Now, what happens next? I mean, I could go into probably 30 minutes of how we got here, about visiting subcommittee hearings in January, and this committee, this vote, that vote, who I talked to. Just know that the money is now secured. The money shall go to South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, because that's who owns the dam. For reasons that I am still unclear about, this money will not be released until February of next year. Now, I do know that DNR has already begun engineering work on the dam. They started that early, and I'm very happy about that. They counted their chickens before they hatched a little bit and went ahead and got started, and I'm glad they did, because that's gonna help speed this along a little bit. So, assuming now, don't hold me to any of these dates and times, because even the fellow that told me these dates and possible timelines said, don't hold me to them either, because we know how projects are. We know there's always gonna be something that's gonna get in the way. Something's gonna slow it down. There's always a problem, but know that we do have the money secured now. So, money released February. Hopefully we start in March of 2026, and projected project completion within a year. So hopefully we can see the dam repaired, road opened, and us hopefully seeing the lake fill with water again instead of weeds by around March of 2027. So, seems like a long ways off, but it's not. That's a lot sooner than we all think. And so again, don't hold me to those dates and that timeline, because I can't predict the future right now. But I do know that at least the part that I was most worried about, the part that I and the other legislators worked the hardest on, which was protecting this money that was largely, the groundwork was set by our prior representative and senator. My job was to find it, protect it, along with the other members of our delegation, protect it through the budget process. We got it there. I joke around and tell people that as a freshman, my job this year, I would do one thing right this year. So next year I'll do two things right. So this year, the one thing I wanted to do right, I did do right. So happy to report that. There were other things that happened this year in the legislature. You probably didn't sign up for me to give you a 30 to 45 minute lecture on some of the tax issues and some of the criminal laws we passed. So come talk to me privately or afterwards, because I know y'all have a budget to work on, and having done that myself, I know it takes work. So thank you for y'all's service, because nobody thanks county councils enough for what they do. I mean, basically us in Columbia, we tell them how to spend money and then don't give them money for it. And so it's tough sometimes to be where y'all are sitting. So thank you, and I look forward to working with all of y'all next year and hopefully more in the future.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for keeping up under that 10-minute time limit. Mr. King.
I'm Ron King, and I'm representing the Housing Authority of Marlboro County. I'm a board member. I have been for the past 11 years, and 9 of those I've been the chairperson. With me this evening, I brought 2 of our new staff people, Pamela Stevens, who is our executive director, has 20 years of experience, and Esperon Huggins, who's our operations director and also has extensive experience. The Housing Authority of Marlboro County was created in 1981 by HUD to provide decent, safe, sanitary, and affordable housing to low-income citizens, with our financial support primarily coming from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. We are a board of 5 commissioners who are appointed and reappointed by the county council. The board's purpose is to adopt policies, act on financial matters of the authority, and provide direction and guidance for our executive director. Our current board is myself, Bobby Grooms, who is the vice chair, Claudette Hooker from Blenheim, Eva McRae from Clio, and Betty Jo Quick from Tatum. We currently own, and I'll put that in parentheses, parentheses, and manage 55 public housing units in Clio, having 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, all of which are up to HUD standards, and our public housing authority is financially sound and rated previously as a high performing PHA. We won't get rated on this year until pretty much the end of the year. Other low-income housing in the county currently is Benesville Housing Authority, which has over 300 units, and McCall, which has 33. In addition to the units, we administer public housing vouchers, or Section 8 vouchers, or housing choice vouchers. They're all the same. We manage those for Marlboro and Dillon County. Dillon County doesn't have a housing authority, so at some time in the past, we were given the authority to do that for both counties. For the first time since 1981, when we were created, we became an independent operating entity on October 1st of last year. Prior to that, we had been managed as a housing authority by the Florence Housing Authority, but we separated on October the 1st, so we're 3/4 of the way into our first year on our own. Last year, which was 2023-24, our total revenue was $1.63 million, with about $1.2 million of that being housing vouchers, and the balance of 421, including some capital, was for the 55 units in Clio. This year we're going to far exceed that. We're having much better management and much better free cash flow, and in addition, we're getting more capital than last year, and just in the past month we've secured a South Carolina housing grant. So we're much better positioned than we have been, and when Jason was talking about determining what's going to happen, we're also in a much better position to determine what's going to happen with housing in Marlboro County. We currently have 4 full-time employees and 1 part-time. I've already introduced Pam Stevens. She's from Marion, and Esperon is from Dillon. And then we have Tarsha Clark, who's from here in Benesville. We have a facility maintenance man, Tom Lindy, who lives in Tatum. We have 1 administrative person, Verly Davis. She's from Benesville. And then we have what's called a paid fee accountant. This is somebody that actually is knowledgeable in housing authority and HUD accounting. And he's actually in Hazelhurst, Georgia, but we share him with Benesville Housing Authority. They're the ones who actually gave us a clue to that. Our 24-25 goal was to get transition from Florence, and we've accomplished that. We're also committed to a process whereby we can actually own the 55 units that are in Clio, and we have a couple of consultants that believe that can be done in maybe 10 to 12 months from now, once we get our audit from last year. So that concludes my prepared presentation. If anybody has questions, I'd be glad to take them, or I'll sit down and let the treasurer speak.
I have a question, sir.
Sure.
Mr. King, you've made an observation that I need to be aware of. Did you not state that the new name for is it now the Housing and Community Development Authority of Marlboro County?
Housing and
New
Community
name?
Redevelopment of Marlboro County, right?
And
That's an
that-
old name,
And so the new name is what?
same.
So the new name is this?
Yes,
But-
we're not, The federal government does not allow us, once you're a public housing authority, you don't get to change your name.
So we're still operating
Yeah,
under
we're
that
still
same
operating
name,
under
just
that
for
exact
clarification.
same name. But we have created a new business entity. We carried over our federal ID number,
Okay.
but we've created an operation in our name here, rather than being a part of the Florence.
Established as of October the first, 2020.
Established as of sometime in September,
Right.
prior to us getting started on October 1st. Yeah.
I just wanted to see
Yeah,
that
no, we-
changing in our
we-
ordinances or anything.
We talked about changing the name, but, and we could change the name like businesses, you know, have a name and then they shorten it or they do something else with it. But, for all the records, all federal records will still be exactly the same.
Just wanted clarification for our records.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Dolores?
Thank you, Chairman, County Council, and also Mr. Clapper. Glad to be here and, glad to see our House of Representatives here today. Right now, I'm gonna make a presentation to, a staff member, our deputy treasurer. She's been working in the treasurer's office for 12 years. I know it probably feels like 24 years because there's a lot going on in the treasurer's office. She has been a very dedicated individual, dependable individual. She's also very, very knowledgeable in the field of the treasurer's office and what we do in there. I want to say she's also been very great with the public and the citizens of Marlboro County and the people we work with within the county. And that's Sharon Sanders. Sharon, will you come up here? Sharon, again, I can't say, there's so many things that she has really added to the office of treasurer. And I'm telling you, during the years, her and her family, have been really dedicated to her work and seeing that, you know, that she's there. And I told somebody just the other day, I said, if you'll look at the time, our time cards and our, schedules and so forth, Sharon is going out with some time, that she just never took sick hardly, never took vacation. And, that stands alone to say, her dedication to the treasurer's office. So at this time, I'd like to present you this nice clock here and grateful appreciation for the years of service to Marlboro County. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Lawrence, you please stand where you at, please. Yes, ma'am, your turn. 38 years of service. Dolores B. Barrington, in appreciation of your many years of dedication and service to the citizens of Marlboro County. Congratulations on your well-deserved retirement. As many of y'all know that end of this fiscal year, this young lady, I say young, will be leaving us. So now the treasurer have two large holes to fill. But we at the county council, we thank you for all the years you've done. You and I, we talk, we've been knowing each other for, since Moby did with the tadpole. And we know you put a lot of work in. And you and Sharon, you got to be deeply missed, from the county government point of view. So on behalf of the county council and our government, I'd like to present, what, would you too? Take it out, pass it out, put my fingerprints on. Then she can wipe it off.
Thank you so much. Appreciate this. That was it. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we got nobody that silent to speak before council. Mr. Carpenter, we any, nothing in executive session? Good, so moving on. Open up the public hearing, ordinance number 865, an ordinance to adopt the annual budget and to make appropriation for Marlboro County for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2026. If anybody here would like to speak on this? Hearing none, we're gonna close ordinance 865. Ordinance 866, the ordinance to approve the capital improvement plan for Marlboro County for the period 2026 to 2030. Anybody here to speak on that? Okay, that one closed. Ordinance number 860, an ordinance authorizing pursuant to Title 12, Chapter 44 of the Code of Law of South Carolina, 1976, as amended, to execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes agreement by and between Marlboro County, South Carolina, and the company known to the county as Project Cloud, as sponsor and one of the most sponsor affiliation to provide for a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes, incentive, and certain special resource revenue credit for the benefit of a project in the county and other matter related thereto. Mr. Clyburn. Okay, yeah. Yes. Any, anybody wanna speak on the ordinance 860? Hearing none? No, ordinance closed. Okay. Old business. Ordinance number 865, the ordinance to adopt the annual budget and to make appropriation for Marlboro County for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2026. This is our second reading.
Mr. Chairman, as stated by, 7A, this is just the ordinance, the second reading for the ordinance of, our budget.
Okay. All right. With this on the second reading, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion been made in second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, I'd like to have some discussion.
Yes, sir.
On the ordinance 865 in our packet, it's, I think we have a reallocation of FILO for amount of 1.1 million, correct?
Yes.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, we have the reassessment, which is applied at 15%, that's
Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
So with that, in this budget, the reassessment is in there.
Yes.
So with the reassessment, by law, we have to have a millage rollback, is that correct?
That is correct. We go through
So,
the computation.
so all council, so we'll do a millage rollback, which will set the millage.
Correct.
Then, we have an increase in our budget of 12.9 mils to move it forward, to be able to allocate for that amount of increase, is that correct?
Up to that, I mean, it's not going to exceed the existing, millage.
But what we have to do is, council will have to vote what's in this budget for a 12 mil increase, is that correct?
No, it's not. No.
Why is that not correct?
No, because, that is when the mills are rolled back effectively, the effect of the rollback will not exceed the existing operation.
Yeah, so what is the projected in our budget of a millage
The
increase?
projected, millage will be unchanged.
So to stay the same,
It will stay the same.
there will be no millage increase.
No millage increase.
So when we set the millage back, it's gonna, for the amount of mills, you're gonna keep the same budget. Because you have to increase by law, we'll have to raise it forward.
We have to do a rollback, but of course, what we have done, we haven't recovered the impact of inflation. And that impact, that we're estimating is not, but definitely won't exceed the existing millage.
Allowed.
Right now, allowable.
So the same mills, so when we roll back from whatever it is, when we roll back to what it is, you're saying there will not be an increase period for the taxpayers?
There will not be an increase in millage rate. Obviously, there will be properties that will increase in value, and that is it's a revaluation process. And so, of course, real estate typically is going to increase in value based on the reassessment that takes place.
Correct. So how far will we have to roll back?
We'll roll back whatever the
To
calculation.
what amount?
To no more than will exceed, it will not exceed the actual.
Allow 12 mills, correct?
Allowable 12 mils.
So, but whenever we roll it back, don't we have to by law set it to where we're at now?
We'll set it.
To where we're at now?
To where we're at now.
So in order to get additional funds, we will have to increase millage, correct?
Now,
Because that from what, from,
Millage will increase, you'll see an increase in both appraised and assessed
So-
value as a result of the,
the,
the
the
revaluation.
reassessment. Yes, for what we're hearing, is by what we're told. So I want to make sure that whenever we say we have to do we have to publicly do it, roll it back.
Correct.
And so if there's a roll it back to where we are now for the revenue we have now, correct? So any additional revenues in this budget to move forward has to be voted on by council by a raise of hands to increase the revenue. That's correct.
Well,
Even though we're allowed the
you're
12,
approving the revenues that are
Yeah, so-
included within the budget.
so but that's what I want to make clear is what revenues that we are that is in this budget has a increase even with the rollback.
Correct.
Correct.
There
So,
will be an increase in revenue.
so, and the only way to get the revenue is council has to vote to increase, correct? To get more money. If you don't, the rollback has to go back to where we're at now,
Has to approve the revenue that's within.
in the budget.
That's
So the revenue that's in the budget with a rollback would set us where we are previous. Any additional would be included forward in that budget.
We're estimating the impact of the reassessment will generate approximately $600,000 more in revenue.
All right, so we'll have to roll back to get to where we're at now, correct?
Have to roll back to get to
Where we're at now. But
And
in the budget, the additional is for increasing the meals. So if you roll back from 98 to 93 to get the same amount of meals, then in order to get back to where we need in this budget, there's a tax mill increase.
You would roll.
Back.
You would end up going back to the 98 mills operating.
So you'd roll it back,
And
then you would move it forward to the 98
say
mills.
for it's 7 mills that we have to calculate in terms of rollback, with 7 or 8 mills, then the additional amount is what has not been covered, recaptured as part of the inflation factor.
But the calculations that we're working off in this budget, the numbers we had is 12.9 mills, is that correct?
That's the maximum allowed.
That's what's in the, but in our budget, that's what's showed to us, correct? To get the dollar amount,
No, that's.
up to the dollar amount.
Up to that maximum 12 point,
But so the rollback, if voting on it tonight means we're moving forward with the amount, with the inflation, plus the millage increase, either way we look at it.
there's no millage increase.
The
There's
ro-
no increase in the actual mill, but obviously the value.
The budget has it.
The value of a mill will increase.
So whenever we roll it back to where we are operating to now, at this amount,
Yeah, say for instance, we roll back.
to
8
93,
mills,
yeah.
From 98 to 90, and then we.
That will-
factor
that-
the 8
that-
mills of, the effective
That-
inflation.
If we roll it back, that will be equivalent to what we're bringing in right now, correct?
That's correct.
So then the
And then
additional,
There's an additional amount that basically is the effect of inflation. And we
How-
can,
so,
we
but
can
you-
do a 3-year look back, we go through the
but I-
calculations, yeah.
but roll it back to 93, is we have to do that to get the same amount of money we're taking now. And if we say we're in this budget, if we're gonna go back to 98 mills, then you'll have to, by raise of hands, to increase it back to 98, because we have to do the millage rollback. We have to vote, raise our hand to set it, then we have to raise our hand to get back where we need to be.
You're approving
when it increases, by law, we have to roll it back, correct?
Have to roll it back.
And
but
then we will have to
there
vote
is-
to move forward. Either now or wherever, it's in this budget to increase it back to the 98.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, we have to roll it back.
you have to go through the rollback
Correct.
computation, but you are approving the level of revenues.
So you're, either way we say it, we're approving what we have, the revenues to get back where we need to be, has to be more meals.
And it doesn't have to be more mills, because the value of the mill is gonna increase.
So if you're going back to, we have to roll it back to where we're at now, correct?
You have to roll it back
To where we're-
wherever we are now to
The-
whatever the effect of the reassessment is,
The re-
which may be.
This sets where the revenue we're at now,
maybe
correct?
7 or 8 mills is what I'm anticipating, and then, of course, assuming, we end up, you adopt the budget with the actual revenue that has been designated, then the millage would basically become, 98 mills. It would revert back.
So you're rolling it back.
You're rolling it back,
And
and
then-
then you're capturing the effect of inflation.
Then by what the state statute, from what I've talked with, many council members across the state, many assessors across the state, we have to raise our hands to get back to that 98 mills. But we have to roll it back to 93. If that's what makes us equivalent to the revenue we take in now. From the way I read the statute and way, you may read it different, and the way everybody else reads the statute, we have to roll it back to the amount we have now. Because by law, we can't do a reassessment to increase taxes, is that correct? You can't raise or increase taxes.
Any benefit from the reassessment. However, you can capture what you did not, collect in terms of, CPI increases over the last 3 years.
Correct.
And the current year.
It's what's allowed. So, but what's in our budget, for everybody to hear me, from what it is, what's in our budget, you will go back to the millage that we are now, correct?
We'll actually we'll do the rollback, and then we'll capture a portion of the effect of inflation.
But in since we're not raising,
If
if we roll back to 93 and roll back up to 98, which we currently are right now, that means that we're not increasing the meals
We're not,
from where we
we're
are
not
right now.
increasing the mills.
you have to roll it back.
You have to roll it back, but
Is it-
then, of course, you do have the ability to capture the impact of inflation.
But however we wanna think it, what my take is and what everybody else's take is, however we say it tonight, so be it, but I've made my statement.
I want to make a statement also, Mr. Administrator and Mr. Park. I did some research myself too on the millage assessments. And I just want to be very clear that to be sure that we are not making a habit when we reassess it is the windfall for this, and we're not just increasing taxes, leaving the millage as the same, because you stated that you and who else is gonna get with you about to determine what the millage rate will be? You, the auditor, and who else?
Probably myself and the auditor,
You and the auditor.
and the tax assessor.
And the tax assessor. So that tax assessor is going to take last year's property, tax-based property, 2024, right?
Yes.
And then he's gonna take this year's 2025 property, right?
And then the other thing that he's going to end up doing is he's gonna back out any additions, any growth. There's a number of things that are actually in that new assessed number, because what you are able to do is you don't have to roll back additions that have been, added to the tax roll in this current year. So look back to 2023
how many new properties, as far as new growth that we've had in Marlboro County? You won't know that, and I don't realize
We
that.
think that
Okay.
that represents about $300,000 of the increase in revenue.
So, not
We
that,
think that the increase in reassessed value will generate about 600,000.
from the new growth.
The new growth was the 300, the 600,000 as a result of reassessment.
So when the rollback happens, if it rolls back, because it has to happen because of a reassessment, when it happens, whatever that number will be, y'all will make that determination, is that right?
We'll make that.
And you'll present it to us as council
We
You'll-
will bring that back to you again.
to vote on, right?
I mean, that's fine, sure.
I'm not gonna get into a debate with anybody tonight about it, I'll just wait till we have that process and I can go.
Typically, the millage is set in August.
Okay.
Okay. Motion been made,
It's gotta
go
be
ahead.
done prior to the notices going out.
Okay, thank you,
You're
sir.
saying that the millage rate won't exceed what we currently have
See,
right
what
now?
you currently have, yes.
Okay, but we have a motion, it's been second, we had a discussion. But now we're ready to vote. All in favor to accept the second reading of the, annual budget, show of hands. That is 5. Those opposed? 2. Okay. Move on. Ordinance number 866, the ordinance to approve the capital improvement plan for Marlboro County for the period of 2026 and 2030, second reading.
Mr. Chairman, this is also part of the budget process with the capital improvement plan, for 25-26.
Okay. Can I get a motion? So moved. Second? Got a motion and second, any discussion?
Discussion. Go ahead, Ms. Burley.
In the, capital improvement plan, sir, I have, again, section 2. No, that wasn't section 2. Section 7. Didn't we say that the council, before all of that happened, didn't we also include that will make sure that be brought back to the council?
Yes, the contingency, yes.
Yes.
That's correct. That was adjusted in there?
That will be a part of the third reading.
But it's not.
And it's not in the capital plan, it is in the operating budget. It'll be the ordinance for the operating budget.
My reason for saying that then is that with the stuff that's in the capital plan, will we be voting for that also if we vote for this budget?
You're approving, you're voting to approve, the second reading on the ordinance for the capital plan. The contingency that's included in the budget, we don't know whether or not that contingency is capital or operating. That will remain in the operating budget, for, general fund.
Because I saw some things in that capital plan that I have a question about, like the bathrooms,
Okay.
those kinds of things.
Okay. The restrooms.
Yes, all those kinds of things.
Are out at the fairgrounds, and, those are being funded, by, the general obligation bond that you approved, it probably was in, March. You probably approved it, I can look and see, but we already received the $900,000 from that, and that was part of that budget.
Mr. Park, in our revenue part of the 5-year capital plan, you still have a transfer from railroad for $1,075,000?
That is correct.
Okay.
Any more discussion? There was a motion and a second on the table. All in favor for ordinance 866? All in favor, show of hands. Okay, Those opposed? Okay, 5-2. Ordinance number 868, an order authorizing the execution of a municipal election transfer and cost of fee agreement between Marlboro County and the city of Benfield. This is the second reading.
This is considering transferring elections to the county from the city, and Administrator Simon came and spoke last meeting about that, making this change, and they're ready to move forward. They only need 2 readings, for them, but we need to have 3 readings in ours.
Any questions or discussions?
Move to approve ordinance 868.
Second. Motion been made second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Unanimous. Ordinance number 860, an ordinance authorizing the pursuant to Title 12, Chapter 44 of the Code of Law of South Carolina, 1976, as amended, the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes agreement by and between Marlboro County, South Carolina, and the company known to the county as Project Cloud, as sponsor and one or more sponsor affiliates to provide for a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes, incentive, and certain special source revenue credit for the benefit of a project in the county and other matters related thereto. Second reading.
Yes, this is another one of our economic development projects, second reading. That's about all I can tell you on that one publicly.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
While we have these, I would like to say, if we could have our public hearing between our second and third reading, because I mean, I know a little bit about what's in here from the but nobody from the public will be able to speak if they could oppose anything without knowing any more information. And so I would request that we have our public hearings between our second and our third.
That's definitely a fair ask.
No, but if we had the public hearing on 860, and then we're going down here to 861, to 860, we had our public hearing before we got to our second reading. I would just ask if we could have our second reading, then have a public hearing, so in case somebody have a chance to speak. So,
And in the future, Councilman, we'll make sure that we
Okay.
time those that way.
okay, fine, thank you.
Okay, motion been made and
So
second.
moved. Oh, you had a motion, sir?
All in favor?
I'm abstaining.
One abstain. Mr. Jackson, I know you said you got a medical emergency you would like to leave now? Before we go to, okay, thank you. Okay, new business, resolution 062502, a resolution to support a prescribed fire by South Carolina Fire Commission.
I'm not sure if we have anybody from the Fire Commission here, but I did receive a call from the gentleman from the Fire Commission. The prescribed fires is basically a way of making sure that there's a control in the fires, there's a control in actually wildlife control. There's a lot of different things that those control. And, it's just, this is not saying we're gonna do it here, we're gonna do it there. This is just a resolution in favor of making sure that when we have that here, that council's on board with that. But this is a measure that a lot of counties use, and it's very effective. And actually, when you do have wildfires, if you've had prescribed fires, it keeps it from spreading a certain way. So this is just something very effective, and I'm sure our experienced firefighter here, Mr. Steen, can probably speak about that a little bit too.
Yeah, it's just a resolution, that the South Carolina Fire Commission's asking for counties to adopt. It says a policy to prevent and help reduce vegetation and prescribed burning. So, that's all it is, preventive measure for, massive wildfires.
We need a motion on this?
So moved.
All in favor? Unanimous. Ordinance number 869, an ordinance authorizing pursuant to Title 12, Chapter 44 of the Code of Law of South Carolina, 1976, as amended, the execution and delivery of fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes agreement by and between Marlboro County, South Carolina, and a company known to the county as Project Hush, as sponsor and one or more affiliate to provide for fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes, incentive, certain special source revenue credit for the benefit of a project in the county. This is the first reading.
This is the first reading title only. This is another one of our economic development projects that we have talked about, and I'll be glad to elaborate.
Okay.
Is this one that's already been here before and just doing something
No,
different?
this is not. This is something completely new. It's something completely new.
Okay. So the first reading, Calhoun, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
got a motion and second on ordinance number 869, all in favor?
Abstaining.
Yeah, I'm abstaining. Go ahead. I'm abstaining.
And two abstain. Resolution 062503, a resolution amending the personal policies and procedure manual for Marlboro County.
I'm sure you have received a copy of this. The changes in the policy. What page is that in, Susan? What page is that on? What page is it on? Yeah,
78.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I know this was handed to us last week. I would ask that we send this to our policy committees to review it, to check it, and then make recommendations to come back to full council. So, is this a recommendation from the,
From the county.
okay, I know it was handed to us last week, and so I don't know what was, any depth of discussion on it.
Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Administrator, we, in several of our meetings, we saw the need for the civic and political activities.
Yes.
And we did, and that is a need, because, because we were under the Hatch Act, and that wasn't clear, it was vague in our handbook, and I appreciate that, but I do know that you have made some changes, and I do accept that, but I honestly would like to show some examples, so the board can see the examples of what other counties have put in place. And I have no problem with just going ahead with that, but I would like the opportunity to be, since I'm chair of that committee, to
Sure.
be a part of that, I really would. And the thing about the, vehicle policy, I would like to pull there's some sticklers in there, I wanna be clear what vehicles we're talking about, how many, all those kinds of things, so that we can make what we call a valid decision on why we're choosing that policy.
Okay, so-
Don't wanna single any one person
So
out.
if I'm hearing this right, we need to postpone,
Yeah,
resolution 0625.
we're happy to postpone. The only thing about, with this policy, I really wanted to make sure this was done this fiscal year, so we start out July 1st, new fiscal year, a new employee policy that everyone, and I'll be able to meet with our staff leaders at the end of June and make sure that people are signing this. So, I'd be glad to postpone if we
It
can,
still could happen.
right, if we can
It
meet,
still could happen.
if we can meet.
We got a regular third meeting on June 24th.
Right, and if we can, meet with the policy committee before that, that'd be great.
Thank you.
That'd be great.
So can I get a motion to postpone resolution 062503?
you have it.
Okay, all in favor to postpone that resolution? Unanimous. Resolution 062504, a resolution authorizing an agreement for the execution of purchase land to complete our local incentive commitment to tobacco manufacturing.
This was part of the agreement that we did with Sepaco. Again, one of our largest industries in the county that we're happy to have, get the commitment to stay here in Marlboro County, and that is part of the incentive package, and we all know how important it is to hold our end of the bargain when we make these incentive packages. And
Has
this is
our
part of it.
environmental phase one been done on that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Everything is clear, so phase one, all the environmental due diligence is complete.
Okay. Now I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
I'd have to abstain, my company does business with Sepaco.
Understandable? Well, all abstain. Ordinance number 870.
excuse me, Mr. Chairman, it's 6 and 1, right?
6-1, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I abstain.
6-0-1, okay,
Yeah, 601.
yeah, okay, I just wanted to make that clear for Susan.
Okay, ordinance 870, an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery
This is, a brand new, just, came to us, economic development project. It'll be hopefully located down on Highway 38, but, again, before we do any more readings or anything like that, before we do anything with public, I'll be able to elaborate some more on that with council.
Okay, so we just wanna move on with the title only.
It's title only, yes, sir.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion is made second. All in favor?
I'm going to abstain till I get a better understanding of what
Sure.
the project is about.
Okay.
Sure.
601. And appointment to boards and commission. A second of bid.
Mr. Chairman, before we
Yes, sir.
move on from, commissions, I did have it in my administrative report, but I just wanna go ahead and, let the council know this now is the appropriate time. I did meet with, Mr. Midgley, not this one, the real Midgley, Midgley Senior, about the, airport commission. And he, he agreed to come speak to the council in August to give updates. We said we want our commissioners to come speak to us, on a regular basis, but he's happy to do that in August to come speak to, us about, and they do have some projects that they have, done with the runway, and they're trying to get some other things done, and that's gonna go through grants. That went through grants as well, but some things with the terminal itself and, the fueling, and they're trying to move up and modernize the operation, as some of our industry has asked us to do. So, he'd be happy to come speak with us, and I just wanted to give you an update on that commission.
Okay, thanks, sir. A second of bids, Wallace Water bid.
You have a bid that was received, the tabulation sheet is in your packet. The bid was for Bill's Well Drilling Company. The bid amount was $1,103,672.20. There were other vendors, of course, that were contacted. It was advertised in South Carolina Business Opportunities. However, there's only one bid, and it falls within the budget of Wallace Water. So I don't know if you've got any questions about that.
Just to clarify, they did contact, other
Yeah.
vendors, other contractors, developers, and that's the only one we got this from. So it's not like, just kinda, everyone was contacted, that's who bid, and they did fall within the budget.
And where did you say it was advertised at, sir?
South Carolina Business Opportunities.
Is that the
And
only
that
place?
is that's a common publication that, all governmental units end up using. It's free, and of course, it's very, widely followed too. So, those that are in this type of business, I'm sure they saw it. They may, for whatever reason, we only did get one bid on the project.
We didn't even get another one that did not match our standards.
No, we
So
we
no-
have.
no other bids.
We have 5 other contractors that were, notified that did not bid on.
We're a
on the
flow-through
project.
agency for
We
grant
are.
funding, that's all
We
this
are.
is. So this is just a flow-through agency.
Yeah.
We have to approve it because it has to come through the county.
It
So
has to,
really,
yeah.
it's no financial obligation or anything to the county, it's a flow-through, just like any other, grants through.
Right, I get them from all over the world all the
operating
time,
accounts.
we use pass-through grants, so it's kind of really formality for us to do that for them.
Can I get a, motion?
So moved.
On the bid?
So moved.
Second. Any more discussion? Show of hands, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, reports, Mr. West Parks.
Sure. You have the financial report for the month ending May 31, 2025. Revenues total $12,997,210. In comparison with 11 months ended May 31, 2024, in the amount of $12,923,725. General fund expenditures through That same period totaled $14,294,312 of a $14,748,543 budget, or 96.92% of budget year to date. Expenditures for the 11-month ending May 31, 2024 total $13,134,171. As stated in previous meetings, county budgeted to use $1,178,943 in fund balance for the year ending June 30th, 2025. Expectations are that the use of fund balance will be about $1.5 million, with the current fund balance of $7.2 million. Using $1.5 million in fund balance will result in a fund balance of about $5.7 million, which equates to a little over 4 months of operating expenses. Revenues and other sources were budgeted at $13,569,600. Expectations are that revenue will exceed budget by about $500,000. However, expenditures should exceed budget by around $800,000. So we do have a month left for this, this fiscal year. Finance staff will be focusing on closing the books, preparing all the closing journal entries, and the various schedules to be incorporated into our annual financial report, which of course is an annual audit report. The actual results of the year will be known in November or December. We'll continue to keep you posted on what the actual operating results are. Any
Mr.
questions?
Hart, I have
Yes.
some questions.
Certainly.
With the report you just gave and just looking at just as of now, and thank you for the package that you did give me with the general ledger reports. And it does show a lot of consistencies, and it does identify a lot of accounts that are in deficit. And the question I have then, please, because we're talking about a new budget year, but when I just did a evaluation of the deficit, I come up with $542,000 deficit in just a few of those accounts, and just about 9 of them have that much of a deficit. We have coming up one more month, the anticipated expenditures usually run about 1.2 million, right?
That's about right, somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2.
Yeah, about 1.2, if we don't have anything outrageous that has come in since the month of June. So when we end this budget year, not if you had to use the money to spend the fund balance, what would our actual income balance would have been?
We're anticipating that we're gonna have a deficit of about $1.5 million.
Yeah.
So we think that revenues and other sources will be $1.5 million less than our expenditures.
Right, and that concerns me because what happened is I don't know whether we have checking balances. We talked about it briefly in our finance committee meeting.
Sure.
But this year, and it was mentioned in one of the budget meetings about being on top of things, because I'm not trying to blame or point out anything.
We plan to meet with each department monthly, so any of the, significant departments of size, we will meet with on a monthly basis. We'll review what's been posted to the general ledger, try to get a sense of, are there areas of concern as we go month to month. And I feel very confident with the budget that we've, prepared for this upcoming year.
I'm just kind of concerned how would no one paid attention to recreation being that for $121,000 over budget.
Well, there were a number of things that happened with recreation. Just to give you an idea, we had several teams that ended up going to state championships. We also ended up with scenarios where the participation rate was a lot greater than anticipated, and so then question is, at that point in time, do you just say, well, we can't give you a uniform, or we can't do this, or we can't do that? So I think that was a big part of, the overrun in recreation. We look at the items specifically, uniforms and, the supplies associated with the various sports that were played.
One thing about those uniforms with Parks and Recreation, they're not just for 1 year. We buy those, this is a 2-year buy them, and they'll last a couple of years, a few years, and then we'll have to go buy them again. But we won't have that same expense in uniforms and equipment this year for Parks and Rec, so that will go down a little bit what we spend in uniform. However, I mean, we expanded a lot of different things as far as participation, because we have been getting out into the schools, we have been getting out into different events, and registering kids, and quite frankly, these kids need, recreation, and they've been participating heavily in all areas of the county, not just here in Bentonville, not just in any one area, they've been participating all over the county, so, I mean, it's a good thing that they're participating, but yes, it does run the budget quite a bit.
I'm not knocking recreation, I'm questioning this kind of stuff as far as making sure that we are staying on top of the guidelines in this budget, that we're saying, not just that, I'm not gonna just zero in on recreation, there's some other things, public works, all of these things have some big assessments going on, big, things, that we have some great expenditures. My question then is, what process are
What
you're gonna
mechanisms do we
use
have
to
in place?
make
Well, part
sure?
of what, the monthly meetings, the printing of the reports and the posting of activities, and the discussion of any of the expenditures that are connected with, that, those various departments.
I think another one of the, one of the things that we're implementing, we just met this yesterday. We just met with supervisor staff and all cardholders, those who are able to make purchases, and we reiterated the policy, all the different policies that were already in place, and we also implemented, the procurement policy I'm talking about, where they have to have POs, and we also implemented a system where every purchase that they make has to have not just a receipt, but something that says, what is this for, to what end does this meet for the county, and that gets turned into my office, with each cardholder having a folder, and they will meet once a month with my office to make sure that each one of these in line, and everything's captured on that student receipt. So, that's just something that we wanna make sure that nothing falls through the cracks as a bad charge.
All that would be well and good, but as Ms. Lawson's point, how do we make sure that when you coming up on this budget and you realize that you're almost at your budget limit, do you continue to spend? That now we're in a deficit in certain departments, so all those measures could be great put in place, it does nothing if we continue to exceed the budget allotted for those departments. So what are you doing in measure to ensure that departments stay within the budget that's allocated, so we can make sure that we're good stewards of what we're allocating?
A few things, well, one thing in particular, we've had a lot of overtime, and, and that's a huge part of a lot of different budgets going over is overtime. We're making sure that, and I've talked to supervisors, and they know that overtime has to be approved first, not just give it. Now, what does that mean? That means sometimes they can't go during the weekends to do certain projects, sometimes they can't stay over a certain amount, but we're just going to have to be a little more careful of
one thing I
if
did
you
is,
don't mind,
uh-huh,
monthly, and that was a lot of stack of papers to, at the end of the budget, to go through that. Yes, I put the 56 hours or more to go through it, but I'm just asking that you're saying that you're meeting with these people monthly, but
Yeah.
we need to see that ledger and know, and put some eyes on that ourselves. Because if we're going to
That's
be the
fine.
people responsible for, I don't wanna wait till a few weeks before budget time to say, well, wow, we realized we this much of a deficit. And, there was some massive spending in that budget, in those things. And I just wanna be sure that the checks and balances are there, whatever paperwork's there, and that, and be honest, to be clear, it's not about, against one particular person, it's the county as a whole. We are responsible for the public's money.
Yeah, I know it might seem like we're nitpicking, but at the financial state that we're in, and we see what's happening all across the county, you have council members who are willing to look at the information and provide good guidance. We can't do your jobs for you. We can't step into the role of the finance director, county administrator, but we can be eyes and ears to ensure that the fiduciary responsibility of this council, that it falls upon our governance, because for such a long time, we didn't really know, what was going on with the finances. We trusted, but as we can see, there are some things that really need our eyes and our ears and our attention, and we're willing to give that attention to ensure that the county stays within the budget, and we're not here next year looking to go up 8 or 9 mil, because we didn't do our fiduciary responsibility to ensure that those departments are meeting their responsibility to ensure fiscal responsibility, and not just spending because it's in the budget. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Don't look at the end of the year and say, okay, we got $50,000 left in the budget. If we don't spend it, they're gonna not give it to us next year, so let's go buy, anything that doesn't equate to proper, governance, and so that's all we're asking.
Or it's transferred to somebody else, just to say, well, I'm gonna transfer it to this department, because they're not spending their monies, so I'm gonna transfer it to this department. Those kinds of things, let us be aware of that. I really think we need to be more aware of that.
Do you recall right off what 2023, 2024 budget was?
That budget was about 14.7,
And proposed budget for this year is what?
16.4.
So almost $2
So
million.
it's $1.7 million
Almost $2 million.
increase. It is, and I think one thing we looked at, when we looked at the rate of inflation, we did that, kind of that assessment with our budget, with, our, reviewing millage, you can kind of see, we haven't caught up. Now, this budget does make a difference. I'm very confident there won't be a problem in being able to, stay within budget. Hopefully, we actually, bring some money back to fund balance.
As a $1.7 million increase, I would hope we can stay within budget.
Right.
But realize last year's budget, we were expecting some things to come through in this budget year that just hadn't come through. And so we were stepping out on faith in last year's budget. And so where we're at in this year's budget is not a major surprise, because some of those things didn't come through. But as we're looking forward, we wanna make sure that we're doing our due diligence and ensure that if we're budgeting for $16 million, come this time next year, we're not in a situation where we're $1.5 million over, when we're expecting us to stay within that allotted budget.
And another thing that happened that nobody was counting on is, in the last count of, with fiscal year, we had so much turnover in the elections. We had a lot of expenses came over with officers. When people left and people came in, that's a lot of big expense also. When, with Corner left, the new Corner came in, he needed the truck, needed the office. Where in the past, Mr. Brown always had, he didn't need the truck. He didn't need the office. All that was already in place. Then when, the new Corner came in, he had to start from scratch. He had to get, that's a lot of money that came in all of a sudden that we weren't counting on.
Sure.
But anyway, that's, we just do what we do. And like I said, with Ms. Lawson and Ms. Dr. Johnson was saying, we do need to be, like the money, cause if somebody say, well, I'm at my limit, I ain't gonna splurge. I'm not gonna buy that tractor. I'm not gonna, buy that
thing in the budget is the fuel expenses. That's very high. And we know that that's something high, so maybe this vehicle policy will help alleviate some of that. But also, you know, I'm sure that all of us experience this personally, but utility rates are high in every department. And I guess that's because of our homes. So
We
tell
may
us-
have been overly optimistic with what we adopted in terms of the budget last year because we weren't able to stay within, that utility cost.
Okay, thank you, Mr. West.
Okay, you have some other reports, I don't know if you have any questions, I've got the, the cash balance reports and then the project report, so, if you have any questions on that, I'd be glad to, address those, but otherwise, thank you.
Ms. Piper.
A few things I want to go over. First of all, I want to re-announce our baseball summer camp. That will be July 14th to 28th in Wallace. And we'll be sending that to all the kids in the county. They'll know what's going on, so we've advertised that already. Have had some response, and hopefully it'll be a really good occasion. Girls softball 15U, runner-up for Eastern Division Championship. We've had, it's been a while since we've had some really, just like with basketball, we had some championship runs. This time we had the same thing with our girls 15U softball, and they'll play in the state tournament this next weekend in Dillon, in June 20th to 22nd. We don't have to travel for that. We don't have to have any expenses on that. It's right there in Dillon, state championship. So hopefully come away with some hardware. Inmate assistance program, spoke with the sheriff, and they have been cleaning a lot of areas. However, it's been a little slowed down because of the sentencing. But there's a couple of new programs, and our public services, they work closely with the sheriff department to make sure when they are available. But there's some other programs, some sentencing programs that we're going to take advantage of, hopefully in the near future. So we'll get them back out into the streets, cleaning up, because they did a wonderful job when they were doing it, and so we want them to get back out there. Speaking of the detention center and inmates, we'll be visiting the detention center on the 13th, this Friday. That will be a scheduled tour for water damage. We all know we have a problem with the detention center, and it's a very serious problem that we cannot ignore. And I want to invite any council members to come out. If you want to come out on the 13th, just let my office know, and do that, kind of soon, because I can go ahead and schedule a time where everyone can be there. But sometime early Friday, we want to go ahead and do that. And shortly after that, we'll be looking at contacting an engineer to actually see what that's going to cost us. I know we talked about it in some of our workshops. We need to take it very seriously. We need to see, at least let us know what it's going to take to do the repairs to that detention center. So that's this Friday. If you want to join us on that, please let my office know sometime in the next day or so that we can schedule a exact time. Sheriff Mill said that they'll be available anytime Friday. I just want to make sure we let them know ahead of time what time that will be. And that's really it. I've already talked about the airport commission that was in my thing. And so, any other questions?
Is Mr. Senator JB having a barbecue, is it this week?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
They invite, so I wrote that down as a reminder. It's Thursday.
Yeah.
Because thank you, Ms. Sumter, for sending that to us in a timely manner.
Any other questions from council?
Okay,
Okay.
we are at, recognition of council members, Steve Blackman.
I don't have anything. I just appreciate everybody working on this budget. It's been a tough one.
Okay. Council Jackson.
Just grateful that everyone hopefully can get on one accord and have accountability and keep moving in the right directions, and let's make this county great.
Yeah, I mean, I guess everybody can tell that, with the budget and everything that's going on, that, what my stance is, so like I said, you can look, I hope the camera's rolling so they can see what my stance is on it, what's going on with it, and so, like I said, I can hear what we say and the what language we use, but from what other counties are telling me, I'll just leave it at that. Not happy with it, with the struggling of everybody, so, if council feels comfortable with it, all you can do is be outvoted or.
Dr. Johnson?
Again, a lot of work is going into ensuring that we have a budget that, I won't say that we can be proud of, that we can be functional with. It's no secret that Marlboro County has been neglected for years, on top of years, on top of years, and so, this year it spans some council members' periods of being on this council. So where we at right now is where we're at, and we have to make some hard, tough decisions about the future of Marlboro governance. And I understand there's gonna be some disagreements about what this budget process looks like or what it should look like, but there are not many alternatives that we have at this point right here. We're in a situation where we have to pass a budget, and we're looking at innovative ways to pass a budget that's going to be inclusive of everybody in Marlboro County. Some people will be affected in one way or another, but all of us will be affected in some type of way with this particular budget. What I can say is the last few years in Marlboro County, we've really been progressive at showing the citizens some of the things that their taxpayer money is going to. Have we hit a home run with every single project? No, but I can say in my 15 years plus moving back to Marlboro County, this is the most progressive I've seen our county is moving in a direction where I can kind of see, my tax money going to what we're doing with the sheriff department, what we're doing with EMS, what we're doing with recreation, and some of the other things that, was really invisible. And so, yeah, the budget is going to be tight. Yeah, there's going to be some decision that is going to make some people upset. But again, we didn't get into this process to make everybody happy. We got into this process to ensure that we're good stewards of what God has entrusted us, which is the people of Marlboro County. So again, we're doing our very, very best to all of the citizens here in Marlboro County. We're doing our very, very best with the limited infrastructure and the limited financial things that are going on in Marlboro County. So I can say this year's budget has taken a lot of elbow grease. This is not us just sitting here and just throwing numbers. We're actually going through and ensuring that if we're going to budget for an item, it's a necessary item, and we're going to ensure that our county workers are stewards of the money in which you pay into taxes. So again, everybody's not going to be happy with the decision that we're making in regards to the budget, but I guarantee you it's in the best interest of what we're trying to do for the entirety of Marlboro County. We expect our county workers to work diligently. For our county workers, I'm gonna tell you right now, people are getting paid pretty good money for living in Marlboro County. You're way above the median income in Marlboro County. And if you're making that money, we're gonna expect that you hold that position in high regard, and you do not your bare minimum, not your best, but your very best in those positions, so we can justify. When somebody asks me if they ask for a FOIA request and they see the list of the amount of employees making over $50,000, I want to be confident enough to tell them, look, they're doing their very, very best in that position. It's not a position just handed to them. It's a position that they earn and have the expertise and the knowledge and the competency to work that position. That's what we're striving for. And I can't say that that's the case at every position. What I can say is we're striving towards that. And if we continue to do that, Marlboro County will be a great place to live. On June 27th, we're having our annual Brightsville, Adamsville fireworks celebration from 6 to 9 p.m. We're asking all of the citizens to come out and enjoy our nation and independence together. Everything is free, and it's something that the community does to just show our appreciation not only for our nation, but for our citizens here in Marlboro County.
I want to also give thanks to the staff for the hard work and all of our time that we put in this budget, but all of you for your time that you put in the budget. It is still a process, and hopefully we can get through that process. Want to say a couple of things I just listed. I want to remind the council members that Solicitor Birch, he invited us to this barbecue event on Thursday from 11:30 to 1:30 at the Berea Center here in Bennettsville, and thank you, Ms. Sumter, for getting that information to us. District 4 constituents, I want to say to all of you, you will be receiving another copy of my newsletter. It's a quarterly newsletter where I give you updates on what is happening and highlight things that has happened but will come in Marlboro County. Looking forward to continues to see that our county stays clean, that during the summer the grass will be continue to be cut, more so because I know that with all this rain, the month of June, July, the grass is going to just take hold just like a plant. So I just hope that the districts will continue, the workers, public works will continue to make sure that these, especially out in that, what we call those corridors areas, they need to be clean all the time. I also want to tell you about some events that will be happening with District 4, and I will be inviting the whole community. Thank you very much, Mr. McLeod, Attorney McLeod, for participating. There's going to be a upcoming week, Simple Wheels and Healthcare Power of Attorney event, and we want to give thanks to Mr. Zachary Open Nation and the South Carolina Bar, because there's going to be several lawyers participating with that. And I'm very excited that some of the other local lawyers will be participating. So if you're in need of a simple will or a health care power of attorney or both, for it's income based, so within 200% of the poverty rate, you will be able to get that free. Also, digital literacy training. Some of the community people will be getting a free laptop, and I want to make sure that that's going to be stressed in District 4. That will be determined. This is what we call Hurricane Preparedness Month. So in District 4, you will be getting some pamphlets and flyers about that. We need to prepare, and this is the time now to prepare ourselves for the county to get a volunteer list. Some people indicated during the hurricane that they want to participate. So this is a good time for those who say that they want to participate and become a volunteer. If you're in District 4, I'm going to be asking you, would you like to do that? So I'm going to be giving a list of people who want to do that. The other thing, I want to uplift the city of Bennettsville. They had a wonderful day last week. They had over 300 people to participate in a Bonanza Bingo at the community center. And several people, I participated by donating gifts. That was a great event, and I think that's something that we as a county and cities all over the community can look forward to, providing that entertainment for the community. Let's not be against each other. If we can go in partnership with someone, I would like very much that's something that we do, not just in Bennettsville, but throughout the county. Lastly, I want to say that you'll be hearing more about the South Carolina Cancer Alliance, and that's to educate the people of Marlboro County about cancer. So that information will be coming out real soon. We're trying to work with the group to make sure the cancer awareness, and also working with Scotland Memorial Hospital in order to get people educated about cancer. And lastly, I want to say Happy Father's Day to each of you gentlemen here, whether you're a father or father figure. I want to say Happy Father's Day and a blessing. And happy June 19th to everyone for coming up for Juneteenth. Thank you.
Jones.
Mr. Chairman, everything's been said. I have nothing to add.
Okay, sounds good.
Myself, Councilwoman Lawson, and Mr. Clarkman did attend our PD call meeting on yesterday evening. I'm excited about some of the opportunities, funding opening up, that could be a possibly incentive for Marlboro County. So we're looking to submit projects. So as the citizens, District 2, District 1 through 8, if you have ideas about projects that you would like to see in our communities, please bring them to our attention. Marvin, it's discouraging when I look on the list of the many projects on the PD5 umbrella. Marlboro County has very limited projects, but that's okay. We had our CBG grant form a couple of months ago. That was the start of looking at what are some of the interests in Marlboro County. But if you have anything that you think might be of
adjourn?
So I move.
And second?
Second.